Good afternoon. This is Annette Buchanan-Phillips with the Water of Life podcast. Today I'm going to be reading another excerpt from one of my books, but it's not The Pearl of Great Price. It is academic writing, which was written by my daughter, Melanie, Faithwalker Estes, and myself, Annette Buchanan-Phillips. I'm going to read a chapter entitled Psycho-social context of the terrorists. The considered and known world is built on cognitive wiring and socialization processes, language, morals, norms, and community are the bricks, mortar, and design of that house. Yet the unknown includes information and systems known to others, but outside of our experience. The gap between our information and our experience is integral to our performance, planning, and operations, therefore. A misinformation and rumors campaign is only as effective as who receives, filters, and distributes information, and what responses are evoked and acted upon, whether verified or unverified. Neuro-linguistic programming aligns itself with the paradigms of any individual from conception to the grave. Yet certain pathways are carved by not what we say, but what we do, and more so by what is expected of us. The societal and cultural, even the occupational norms and vernacular attribute themselves as our unique cognitive wiring and behavior parameters, guides, and boundaries. Another reason why behaviors and reactions can be predicted, prevented, supported, or extinguished. Cognitive restructuring may be facilitated by pain or pleasure, as long as there is a moral justification via an ultimate moral purpose, and may be used to justify murder and other cruelty as a means to achieve political and ideological objectives by military and or guerrilla warfare, otherwise known as terrorist events. Survival in harsh conditions requires quick adaptation of new reactivity and vernacular, as well as new cultural norms. Those norms are paradigms built on rewards and punishments, controls, lack of controls, and the prevailing beliefs and language of the challenges. Saving humanity from a perceived evil ideology and erosion of accepted values and norms, or to protect the personal identity and cherished others, are a foundational psychosocial context in the making of the terrorists. World peace and other buzzwords and causes celeb are popular, but are the funds acquired used to market ideas and ideals, or conduit relationships for unspoken parallel objectives? Language is the basis of cognitive wiring and determines resource allocations, priorities, thought patterns, and processes. It establishes what we believe, desire, expect, and manifest. Cruel language is as abusive as cruel behavior and leaves a deeper cognitive impression because it has carved a neural pathway associating the language with the abuser, the activity, and the expectations, beliefs, and desires. which is how a word of a specific context can evoke a memory that renews a corresponding virtual experience. Cruelty is, at its worst, when sanitized with a benign, socially acceptable label and a distance evoking neutral verbiage attached to it. Relativity to a specific group with whom we fail to identify may cause us to ignore otherwise alarming behavior. In a recent serial murder case, missing women were labeled as drug users or prostitutes who were given to periods of absence without contact to significant others, so their discovery as being dead was slow. They went unreported after more than 24 hours of being missing. Language indicates lifestyle, and certain groups use certain words that others never use, and keep traditions that others don't and are not even curious to understand. Those pathways are never trodden by some unless forced upon them. Furthermore, language formed other people's perceptions regarding them, their values, and their value to their community. The advantageous or disadvantaged comparisons of one individual or group relates directly to the language used to describe it within the social group and that which they promote as their image to others. The terrorist is promoted as superior to those that they recruit or oppress and attack. The ability and capability to inflict emotional, physical, and economic harm is perceived as power until retribution, divine or legal. Inhumane treatment by empowered rulers upon the citizenry may take years to overcome, if ever, because the cruelty is often blamed on its victims. Those immoral but empowered are seemingly allowed to justify their every misdeed, which accounts for the feeling of futility in the overly controlled by them. They are purposefully constructing and engineering a violent act, motivated by design, and can succeed in subverting countries, economies, and governments. If the profile and results of similar activity is not acknowledged, assimilated, predicted, and prevented by address and intervention, then compliance, avoidance, and emulation may result in the convert. The emulation of the recruiter may require the dehumanization of others until a culture of selected devaluation of human life is regarded as morally correct and normal, as in Holocaust and genocide. Such nationalization of a culture of cruelty is inflicted when certain people are considered subhuman and less than valuable. The justification of terrorist behavior is that those are crimes of obedience. As such, the crime is committed because of the displacement of responsibility upon those who required the behavior, even when the victim is to blame. When a higher power is to blame, there may be a divine reward for compliance to perform the crime which outweighs previously accepted or even promoted doctrines. Approval of support groups may propel a convert into circumstances and outcomes outside of their control solely due to compliance in order to avoid undesirable consequences. De-individuation allows for diffusion of responsibility to relieve the moral and cognitive dissonance created by the performance of personally uncomfortable acts. In the compliance with organizationally required projects of terrorism or even law enforcement, cognitive inconsistency and dissonance may produce somatoform ailments, depression, binging, to assuage the inner locus of controls to accommodate the outer locus of control requirements. Some terrorists are celebrated prior to the event of no return outcome with remuneration to significant others and approval and pride to encourage the crime. When the steps and pathway to the final act is considered, a point for interruption becomes visible. In the context of what the terrorists suffered to achieve the mindset that will allow a person to disregard the will to survive and strap on a bomb. The fragmentary personality of the composite performers toward a specific goal may seem harmless to the individual, but insidious as systemic. When erosion of institutions by conduit relationships to achieve a subversion objective and a global dominations agenda is finally acknowledged, it may be too late to avert undesirable results. Yet, from what has been learned, seen, and experienced directly and indirectly, an escape hatch must surely have emerged. In the interest of the acculturation of the displacement of the individual identity with the collective identity, the door is ajar to allow for compliant and mirroring of abhorrent behavior to become the norm. A systemic vaccination of effective analysis of societal strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are a preventative measure to blindly stepping into a situation that has proven to worsen with reactivity and improve with objectivity. This has been Annette Buchanan-Phillips and the Water of Life podcast, reading from Academic Writing by Annette Buchanan-Phillips and Melanie Noel Phillips Faithwalker Estes. Thank you for listening.